All right, I'd like to call to order the zoning board of appeals meetings for August 21st, 2023. We have 4 applicants to review today. We apparently had a little bit of an issue here in that we only have 3 members sitting on the board right now. We are a 5-member board. For anything to go through, to be successful, you need 3 positive votes. Even though we are a 5-member board, which means that all 3 of us would have to vote in the affirmative for your project to go through. To be accepted. If not, it would fail, and you cannot bring that same project back to us for a year. For a year. So I guess my question or the statement is, think about whether you want to postpone. It would be on our behalf, not on yours. We do not have a full meeting, full board here. And you can make that decision pretty much at any time up until you decide to vote. Okay. But if you feel you're going to do it anyways, I just assume you tell me up front, so we don't go through all the reviews that we would have to repeat when I have a full board with me. Okay. So I guess first off, is there anyone right off the bat that says I'll wait till next month? Take that as a no. All right. Then I will hear the appeals in the order that they're on our agenda. And first up is Adrian Dutel. Good evening. Good evening. And thank you for all the information you did get us. I believe everyone has reviewed it, hopefully. We're both of you here when you first showed up. You were here. Were you here, Tim? When you were here first? Yes. Okay. All right.
If he's on video, only one.
Yes. Yeah. No. And that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
You know, we sent you back to get stuff for us. So.
I finally get some information for you now.
So we've been through this. We went through it significantly when we were here before. Your information that you sent to us indicated that you had made profits.
On some of the years, yes.
Yeah.
That was when it fully rented.
Okay. All right. In the time that it has not been fully rented, basically started when COVID hit, and then on.
4 years in December, when I lost my legs, when one of the tenants moved out of the commercial space.
Okay. All right. And that would have been 2019, December, give or take.
Give or take, yeah. I was told when I lost my legs in December. It was 4 years in December.
Okay. And then COVID hit in February, March 2020. Okay. Just when in reviewing the documents, we have to consider that 2020, 2021, 2022 were extreme years. Rental market was significantly affected, as were all markets. You know, so
The only thing I had trouble renting was the commercial space. Everything else was not a problem, never lost a day's rent.
okay. And,
The residential, I have no problem renting it, it's the commercial.
and the commercial is small commercial rental. I would think would be the most, because people could come to the locations. You know,
Possibly, everybody works from home,
exactly. So why rent an office?
but even now, I can't rent it. I've got one part rented, but not the other part,
Okay,
and I've tried. And I've got,
Yeah.
Bridgeline Realty, she tried to make quite a few times. But we showed them, but nobody, there was no takers.
and the area that is currently rented. Commercially,
Is the first door on the left,
okay,
we have left the big window.
okay. And I believe we have a concern about that also.
You
What's in there?
do, she sells drinks.
Yeah, I don't think they got a permit for it.
I don't know. She got the permits in the city. She has a retail permit. Huh? She has a retail permit.
I don't think you got a discussion on that yet to find out exactly what the business is described as, so. We maybe know what that.
And we brought that up last time, that it was permitted as an office, I believe.
I believe there was a lawyer in there.
There was a lawyer there at one time, there was also Capital Realty was there at one time too. That was back a few years. The lawyer, she moved up, 3 houses on the corner, and then she went to, the corner of, Court and, South Catherine, I believe.
So the building currently has four tenants, 3 residential and a business.
Yes, no, 2 in the residential. 1, 2, in the business.
And this apartment would be a 3rd residential.
One bedroom, but it's what I got in right now. I believe you said you needed, I would need to put a, sprinkler system. If I had 3, 1 in commercial, right? Yes, that's not a problem. I had it all lined up, and this week, you guys said.
Yeah, so previously it was considered a professional office,
I believe so.
whereas a retail is not allowed in
Yeah,
the.
when that bond, there was doors that you could use it either way. There was a
It
door,
also depends though, if there's some sort of consultation going in there or something like that, and that's accessory to it. I'm not sure, we'll probably have to talk to the business owner and get a description of what the primary use is.
Yeah, because professional office is allowed, retail is not. In our age. And that's our age, correct? Yeah. Yes,
she had to go to your office, she had to get the sign for it, didn't she?
I
took-
imagine that there probably was a permit for it.
And went under something, because it said it took a while to get the sign.
But for someone to change a business, they don't necessarily need a permit unless there's substantial change. You know, anybody can go into where a restaurant was and slap some paint on the walls and they don't need a permit, so. Office use, that kind of thing typically. I mean, a sign permit could have been approved without knowing exactly what that business was.
Because nothing was changed inside. So, the physical evidence is the same as it was.
We don't know.
There was a question about parking.
I think the part we said as long as it was one for the commercial, one for that residential, we could, correct? I believe it was brought up last meeting.
That was brought up.
Well, I think it was brought up, once you go to 3. You require 2 per apartment.
I thought Kyle had mentioned that it was gonna be a wash.
That's what the resident we said.
Remember, that was actually when we had that meeting, the 3 of us, the 4 of us.
Yes, yeah, yes.
I think Kyle believed it was gonna be a wash. Assuming, square footage in
Okay.
commercial space. I don't necessarily think, I mean, even if that was a limitation, I think that, I don't remember exactly what the open space we had available for open space, but it might, even if you needed to add a parking space, I think that there would be the ability to modify the driveway and its stands.
Okay,
I guess that would be more of if you were approved and then you couldn't provide the parking, then I guess you'd have to come back,
yes,
but potentially, I believe Kyle was under the impression with his definitions and you can do a walk, but even if it's not, there might be room to modify without variance.
all right, that's something that you would investigate
Yeah,
and determine, okay. All right. Then, I guess. Let's do the. Anyone in the public have any comments about this? Anyone in the public have any comments about this? Want to speak publicly about this project? No, not, I'll close the public hearing portion. Let's do the full environmental assessment form. Does this have to go to the planning board?
I don't think so, I just,
Shouldn't have,
is it?
it did, okay.
I didn't see the,
Is this the one that they didn't do anything on? I mean, it should have had good proximity to county property. Okay. Local issue. And we're good. We did our part, they did theirs.
yeah, I didn't see I saw one for 28 McDonough, but I did not. No, it's here, I'm sorry.
C3B was used permitted or allowed by a special or conditional use permit. You know. Community services, what parks serve the project site? None. Other new parks? Yeah. So C4D, none. And Page 5, E2. B, no C. Proposed action using the new demand for water. Indicated no.
Even if it's state of the business or the.
Okay.
Something to change the land use for the-
Okay.
for a investment.
And that takes care of that. Proposed action generated in ways would be the same thing, it's the same and no. I just highlighted as a question. And. Oh. Page 10 at the top, under any facility serving children, the elderly, people with disabilities within 1,500 feet. That would be yes. No. Senior apartments. Bernard's. Right there in the old, but also there's the senior center. Or.
Oh, yeah.
So you got 2. So that is a yes. We've got senior center. What are the new apartments there? Jim, any idea? The apartment building, senior apartments on the Oak, behind the library.
Senior Citizen Council was the name of the,
Owner.
I don't know the name of those apartments, but that's part of it.
But they're senior apartments, correct?
Sure. Yeah, I think that was the original intention, but a lot of apartment buildings that were intended to be for a certain kind of use have been modified over the years, like the Broad Street Commons, they used to be just called students, and now it's a little bit everybody. I think people just want to fill what they have, so I'm not entirely sure if it's just senior citizens now.
Okay. And
Robert, that's long.
that's it.
Bill Burnett.
Okay. And that's all I have unless anybody have any other things. Then I'm gonna make a motion.
Need a motion?
I don't know. Boilerplate.
I'll make a motion for appeal number 2352 for J. Adrian Dutil, that for the long or full of environmental assessment form. After full review, we find that this project has little or no environmental impact.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now. For the actual Class A variance. Well, we have to keep in mind. It's a use variance. The applicant. No such use variance shall be granted by the Board of Appeals without a showing by the applicant the applicable zone regulations and restrictions that cause unnecessary hardship. We need to review it against each and every permitted use, of which there are very few for RH. And standard permitted is single family residence, home occupation. Accessory uses. Public park or recreation facility, and. It is back on attachment 1, schedule I or schedule 1. And uses permitted by a special use permit, nursing or rest home, probably not applicable here. Conversion of an existing structure, creating 1 accessory apartment, which is not really what we're doing here. Professional office, that's what he's been actually targeting. And I think has given us reasonable proof that they can't do it right now. Photographic studio or art gallery, bed and breakfast establishment. Quite appropriate in that home. I don't think medical or dental clinic, I'm assuming that's what the realtor was looking for as one of the possible options. Church or other house of worship, and a little small for that. Elementary or high school, college or university, fire station, child daycare facility. So I would think that pretty much everything in there, the only thing that would possibly apply would be professional office or photographic studio or art gallery. And I'm assuming that is what my opinion, what the realty group was kind of targeting, since that's what was in there, was a professional office. Applicant cannot realize a reasonable return. That is the information he gave us. He did have some good years, did have some bad years, and I agree we're out of COVID, so that really doesn't apply. Last year you did not make
I
a
can't
profit.
figure.
Oh, last year you did not make a profit.
No,
Okay,
the last 3 years it did not.
okay. 2022, you did not.
2021.
Yeah.
2021 was -13, and then 20 was 35. And the year before that, I didn't show, it looks like I showed about 5,000.
Now, did you apply for any grants during COVID to cover your loss of income?
Not on our residents,
And
because they were all rented. Every rental I had was rented except for the commercial space.
okay, but you didn't apply in the commercial space.
No, I applied in a business.
Okay. The alleged hardship relating to this property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. That's a gut feeling.
We don't want to.
The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. The building is unique. There are a couple like that. But a lot of the other ones are large. Single family, very large, single family.
So the hardship here would be the ability to rent it as commercials.
Yes,
So. In that regard, I think it is. It's probably about the end of where the. Commercial district. Really would end, right? The end of our end of it, what you might consider a commercial.
the next one is easy to request a use variance if granted will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And lastly, the alleged hardship has not been self-created. The fact that he made money in his earlier years and really did nothing to change that. And says it's not self-created. Because he bought something and was making money and then was not. So those are the 4 criteria. I'll entertain a motion. On it,
Make a motion for appeal 2352. For J. Adrian Dutil to approve the request for the Class A use variance to allow for an additional residential unit in the pre-existing non-conforming use commercial property located at 61 Fourth Street.
second,
Second.
all right, this is the.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't do that.
Days 21st.
Yes.
She's 2350.
Great, Adrian, you have 3 yes votes. So from our standpoint, you're good. There are issues that I think you need to deal with the building inspector in regards to parking. And also the one tenant, the one commercial tenant you have. As to whether she's permitted or can stay there. So,
Well, then there. You're. A little over a year, I think.
time does not make it,
Uh,
time does not make,
okay, I don't know, she, when I read it. Said she'd have to get the signs and all that.
like James said, is they could have issued the sign permit not knowing what was going in there. They just look at the size of the sign.
When I read it, or-
I would investigate to see exactly what kind of business she has. It may qualify, there's just some question. So I would just like touch base with the office and see what's allowed and then see what kind of business she actually has. If it's,
Always have to find.
if she's like an online business and there's no foot traffic or anything and
It's all water.
so.
You know, I don't know how much the pays the rent, that's all I just,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. All right, well, that's between you and the building inspector. Okay,
Okay,
so you're good.
thank you very much. And I gotta go, something, basically, then,
Yeah, just give me a call this week.
I'll be back to work.
Yeah,
Okay, I will do that, thank you.
yeah, we can figure everything else out.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, bye.
Question, when we hand you take the view shut it. Okay, because these have social security numbers in it. I noticed that, so.
that's the rate.
And you have your ridge line.
Oh, I think that's. What I just. That's both of them.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's that kind of. No. Can't do that. Okay, next up, Darlene Dubuque. Round 3. Oh, were you successful on round 1 and 2?
Well, that's what I think, knockout, then there's vision, it's knockout. Down to the count. Sorry.
So you were before us a little bit ago with a larger unit and we rejected it.
Or so that
Okay. Now you want to put in a smaller one?
50% of the time.
Okay. And you remember our discussion last time that you were over on a lot of coverage even before you started this.
That's why
Okay,
I'm at 30%.
you're over 30%.
They're including the fees. And I did look in the zoning thing, it said it's from wall to wall. not-
It is.
And when they do the measurement from the top, that's the easy, which is like a flat. You know, she's got the times where it is. So, when I do the math, it's. Measured.
Okay,
So this says it is in.
yeah, I agree.
Wall to wall.
I
So there's a
thought-
little bit, this. I mean, you go around the whole thing, multiply by what.
Oh, yeah, it adds up.
You can put that on that.
It adds up. So, James, the measurements you have are from aerial, or did you actually go out? Did he actually go out and measure and?
No, those would be from aerial. Nobody went on their property without permission, so.
Okay. So then we can reasonably assume you're at 30 now. And everything that you put on there is over your allowed amount. And you're at 30 because you did an addition on the house, correct? Back in 2012.
2012.
That would say why it wasn't a variance in 2012. We pulled it up. There was no variance done. So,
Yeah, I think I remember.
yes,
A long time ago, I had to get engineering.
okay. And the rest of the property. The slab that you're putting this on, where is that from? Or when?
2019.
So you poured that slab? Okay,
Was that slab poured prior to the 14 by 20 shed? Okay, so that's the dimension of the slab.
Yeah.
What is the dimension?
So it's a little bit larger.
sure. Yeah.
I'm just curious, so you revised your size significantly, and I'm just curious, what is your goal or the intention for this shed? I'm assuming it's not parking or like anything for your vehicle,
But all
storage.
So I have in the basement. And those, was very on and it's no lower in the basement. And it's having a lot more in the basement. Ladder. Still saw it's like how bad you had to move from the other side. I just had a hard to make it. I don't use it as much. Oh, I mean, I'm like, why?
And there are no other sheds or buildings on the property, right?
No,
It's just a
I
house.
took the 8 by 10 off, prior to or right after the other incident of the 14 by 20.
So
Yeah, I have-
currently there's just the house.
It was an 8 by 10.
Plastic, all of our relation, but it was 8 by 10.
Okay,
Then I used to stuff that, put all my stuff in my hat. and-
Yeah.
Now I don't have anything for anything. It is what it is. And I got rid of it, so I think that's all we need to talk to me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not too more than anything.
So the slab issue. Kind of goes away because that was inflicted per se. I mean, it wasn't there before. And it's not like it's been there for 50 years.
So we probably should go with the way.
Well, usually if somebody has a slab already there, there's a little. You know, it's like, okay, it's been there for 50 years, why can't they put something on it?
is that,
But if you pour it yourself. Before you put something on it, then that issue goes away. As a reason to. Put you one way or the other. That's a pretty big slab, and
So the open space. The. What they, existing 50%, and it's supposed to be 50%, is what it says.
yes,
So the existing 54% open space includes the slab.
it must not.
I doubt it.
Does the slab count as open space? We weren't really sure.
My opinion would be that it does not,
That it does not.
because it's,
So this
it was
shed,
never intended to be part of the driveway, the parking space, it's there for shed,
But
now it's being used as looks like a patio.
so the shed would not impact the open space since it's smaller than this one.
I'm not, in my opinion,
No, if it's not included in the open space, committee would put something on it, then it is. Or it goes against.
I mean, someone could install a driveway and then they could have 5 feet in between their house and their driveway, they have 2 acres and that will not. Block way.
But if they poured the concrete,
If she was parking on that every day, it would be a different story. You probably have to consider it a part of the driveway. For parking. Doesn't appear that it's being used that way. Doesn't appear that it'd be
I think
beneficial.
part of it,
Now, what
no, it doesn't.
I put this thing on it, it's ugly. You find it out, like that. It's just something else, it's just ugly, and then the guy in the back just cut everything down in the back. So that's why I'm in the issue.
So there's 12 by 12. The shed then is, according to the measurements, is 4.6% of the area, total area of the property. It cuts into the open space by 4.6%.
no, actually 3.3.
Well, so
Oh, because she's at 31.3 by our calculations. So it's the difference between the two.
that's the cover.
But, right, but you're really 30, but that 1.3% comes off both the existing and the proposed. So it's really the difference between.
Because it is 3.4 or 3.5% of the square, yeah.
Okay, all right, so if you're talking 3.5%, but at 30% allowed, you're going 10% over your allowed now.
So it's usually. We did it 150, it's not going to be the biggest 12 actually, that's what we're doing. So that's beautiful. That was really tempting, that's not gonna be good.
3.3%, which is what it's got. So you're going over by 11% over your allowed.
That's not what Kyle's, you pull the Kyle sheet.
Yeah, it is what Kyle shows.
Oh,
If you take out the 1.3% off of existing and proposed,
Then she's at 3.3%.
yeah. 3.3% over 30% is allowed.
oh, you're saying the difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
If you're looking for a way to put a bigger percentage to the 2.3, because originally you guys are 9%, it's 2.10%. 2.3, you know, if you're trying to manipulate it to make it look bigger,
Well, no, what I'm doing is. I'm putting it in a version against what you're allowed.
Yeah.
You're allowed 30%.
It's kind of like the taxes that come, and they want 50% more than what they're allowed. And I'm like, 50%, that's a big variance to them.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that just depends.
and you're going 11% over what you're allowed
And only 2.2%.
of your total lot is 3.3%.
Yeah.
But it's 11% over your allowed coverage of your lot.
What if you divide it by 70%, that's only that.
First off, you don't have 70%,
But that's what I'm saying.
but either way. So. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
in terms of the setting of this 12 by 12, you're in compliance in terms of boundaries, correct? There's no issue with boundaries.
Anything else? Let me open it up to the public and wait for the public wants to speak. Jesse?
I'm just neighbor of the property and I've been there longer than this. Longer. My concern is that in the neighborhood, I believe that, and I haven't measured things, but I believe that this lot is more densely used than any of the neighborhoods. Most of the other parcels along Dunn Street have more space around either. Just because they are bigger parcels. So I really don't think that this parcel should be allowed to increase its coverage. And that I believe is what the variance is about. I think we should keep it no more than what it is. Because it's very delicate. This is the. That's. Sorry. It's delicate because this neighborhood is a very old neighborhood. It's very convenient, very nice, a lot of old houses there, and we just can't keep pushing things. That's why I don't focus the variance. Does that make any sense?
It does.
I have a question for you. So clearly, we can see that the space is well kept. Her yard is very well maintained. We don't see a lot of excess things on the property. I also am aware that the structure that he is proposing is the furthest distance from your property. I'm wondering to what extent you feel that this 12 by 12 would affect your property.
Well, one
Specifically.
thing, some made a passing comment, one of the things that does concern me. And this is a personal concern, it's not something you can take, is that the 12 by 12 item there for this proposed new structure. I drive a small car to Shays Park. I can park my car. So I have a feeling, and I look on some, in the last week. A couple of weeks, things have been quite clear with that. It's difficult to have 3 cars. So. That's the reason I was. Because,
How is the shed come into play with parking?
because it may turn into parking space.
There's no way people will fit inside that 12 by 12 shed.
Especially with a lot more in a snow.
Not with the volume. I'm just concerned it was loading up that.
Okay,
It may be an irrational concern, but you're asking what my concern is. And it's been used as much as possible. I couldn't hear everything, but I think some of the variances, there have been variances in the past, and we're full of.
It just for your info, there were 2 previous applications for variance that were rejected. Okay, The house itself, the addition did not require variance. So there's not a variance on that. I don't believe there's any standing variance right now with the property or the house.
The house addition did not exceed the variance. Whether it needed one or not. What you said is what?
Yeah, the building inspector deemed it not to, and no one challenged that, so. Okay, any other comments from the, yes, sir.
Oh, yes, I'm Lyle Kravitz and I own the property behind her.
Okay.
We purchased that several years ago and, I guess one concern I would have is there seems to be an issue with the property line. We were back there cleaning up, our property was a complete mess when we bought it. And I was back there cleaning it up and she comes out yelling and screaming and then calling the police. And so I guess one thing I would want to request is that if you guys move forward with that, just to make sure she gets the survey, so that there's a clear understanding of her setback. And that it's not, oh, gonna be on my property. If that would make sense.
Do you know roughly where your property line is?
According to the maps and online, it looks like it goes straight down in line with the other people's properties. And it looks like there's quite a bit of dirt fill that's been pushed onto our properties and. So I guess I'm just wondering if you're gonna allow building to be put in, should be required to get a survey done to make sure that that's within that 5 feet. 5 foot setback. I'm just concerned that like if she puts it on there, that it's not, you know. Because what if, like, say I get a survey later down the road or something that's, 2 feet too close or something. I'm just, there's been a little miscommunication with where she thinks that the property line is.
Yeah,
And there's a pile of concrete that is barely on my property over there. And it was probably the spillover when she had her concrete patio before. But she thinks that that's on her property, so I'm just concerned that she thinks her property is farther than it is. So I would just maybe make a request that,
Do you have a survey yourself?
no, I don't.
So how do you know where the property line is?
I mean, so all the neighboring fences are in line, there's like 2 other properties along there. And of course, I don't know if you're able to pull up the map or not and show. Kind of the line of where that is. So when I was back there cleaning up, I stayed several feet away from that line, and then it just like. But apparently we were on her property, so I just. Like if I was gonna put another building back there, I would assume we'd get a survey to make sure that it's. That we meet the setbacks.
Can the city establish that property line without a survey?
No.
So like I said, I wanted to get around and put a big building out there, so I'm gonna get a survey to make sure it's on. Because what if I build it and we have a 10 foot setback and yet next thing I build it and someone surveyed it and it's only 8 feet. I just don't want to see a problem down the road, like, hey, this is not,
How accurate are these lines on this?
They're not perfect. They're overlaid, so.
And I just mentioned something about getting a survey, I don't know if that ever took place or not, so I don't. But that was.
One of the trees back there, and I was there with the unit there, 2012, I was there. He bought that property that was. Gallagher, I mean, where I'm talking about it, where, that's what I've been. But the shed here is within the tax map. It is not taken into consideration. Where I was still going. So, yes, I have a boundary dispute with the shed over here, I did not know I had a dispute. And yes, I did call it Thompson, because it was very much a smooth talking business man. And he was trying to approach it, like I was down the hill. And not coming any closer, and if you, one point I want to make, that place right next to me, that's what the shed, but Pat. And Jane was right next to me, Jesse saying that all the properties are not dense, maybe it is,
Yeah,
but theirs is very dense. He has no edge, he has no property, it's right to the edge, and on the back. His shed, he had propped it up on the back because it had eroded back there. So when Donald is looking at the line, he's looking at an eroded line over time. Where there's a retaining wall back on there, the other people, I just kind of mentioned it in myself, you know, by the only by the sidewalk. And their fence is in further, maybe they get cut on the property line, so. Yeah, just to say. He more than cleared his property, so coming up the hill and then clearing up. And keeping coming closer to me. No, so I'm gonna have to dispute with him, and yes, I know that we have to do survey, but surveys do not come fast. It's very simple, I've already put a project. But. He too, if he wants to put an apartment complex out there, he has to put a survey together. You know, that's a whole different matter, and I think my little bit of seafood or whatever. But what's on here for the shed is well within the tax map, and on the sidewalk, with a 200-foot rule, you know, I have got one from them on the moment that is whatever, measured it out. So that is within all of that. So, density, my neighbor, is very dense, even. And he's right next to me, and his shed, his garage is there, and 3 cars in my yard, I don't know who, because my husband and I each own a vehicle. So there's only 2. Jesse's talking about my son. And when it comes over to my grandson, well, then there's a good car, so I don't need to put my car in the garage, maybe my stuff, and it's shed. And so I could barely fit my sign, which is a little bit in the 14 by 20 and Postman mirrors. So I don't know what the difference is if I use it as a garage or a shed, but since I moved in, Jesse had yelled at every contractor and talk about yelling and screaming, comes over reading his hand, he's not yelling at me. And he has yelled at every single person who's bent over doing any kind of contract to make my house do. And all I want to do is just live there, and have a little something, and it seems like my neighbors want a little bit more of that something, that they could just like get rid of me and take that property and make it theirs, and they'd all be happy. Well, you know, it's just a small little postage stamp of the property to be after me over a 2 feet or whatever. It's ridiculous, but I keep quiet and keep my place up. I don't want to do wood drinking story. I don't care about them. All it's fine, whatever. They don't want to play high. They don't care. We don't have to do them. You know what I mean?
but what's the property across, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, it's fine.
What's the property across?
They're across the street, they're perfect. And they're very quiet. It needs a very lovely place. The only thing that makes my home not a lovely home is that I moved in, Jesse do it. So he didn't like Patrick Gallagher, who actually killed himself in that house. That's the road that I put John Gallagher. And I heard previously from John that he too, Patrick, was in argument with Jesse over boundary and whatnot. So it's just an inferior thing. And I got no time for the people, whether you guys are figuring it out. It's not really a difference on how we live and I like the place, we just want a little something. There's nothing there now.
Is there a difference between the properties?
The fence on the other side has always been there, so there's been half and myself. There was a different fence there, and he asked if he could replace it. So the back half was mine, it was the white picket fence that I had bought as part of my property, and he has started on a slippery fence in the front section. So he replaced the whole thing on. And he was like, you know, somebody had asked him, you know, 50%, okay, no, so I think that was so he could put the backside my way and paint it, could ugly colored it, but I got used to it. So it's fine, it's a fence, and you know, it's there, you know, I don't bother him, he doesn't bother me, he's actually been on my side trying to fix it up. And I'm scared to do that, and I'm going to go out of the house. It's fine,
All right, any other comments from the public? Close the public hearing portion. I do have a question. What is behind your house?
But behind,
Yeah,
it's, I can show you a picture, it's wide open.
I mean, it looks like it's paved.
Oh, you
What?
mean, there's,
Oh.
there was a good record. Or I thought you were thinking of how my visual.
No,
Yeah. I,
so basically your whole property is just about fully covered with something.
I put that in because the typical grass, all of this people use to protect it, so I didn't know, if that's a problem, I'm sorry.
There's pavers,
No,
cement, so.
yeah, it was a thing. It looks like.
Is it permeable?
Right. Yeah. It was,
What was that 30% threshold there, James?
But you were saying that it's not being used as parking. It would be counted as open space.
Unless it exceeds 30%.
a lot of rules, I did ask the mayor to change the zoning rules, like, to give you some specific, then not.
Well, you can't change rules.
No, it's not reading.
There's a whole zoning code is in review right now.
Areas paved or otherwise covered and used as uncovered patios, swimming pools, tennis courts, or similar recreation programs, use may be included as open space provided that such uses do not comprise more than 1/3 of the required space, so. Here, that's not more than 1/3 of it.
Of the required open space. If you include the pad
Include the lot.
that you say isn't considered.
Are they connected?
But it's an aggregate total.
No, they're two separate.
Doesn't matter whether they're connected.
Doesn't really specify if it's a total.
Well, and this is one of the comments that community development said, it looks like the majority of that property is impermeable surfaces.
But that's not in the total.
What's that?
Permeability isn't in the.
No, but that 30% is. And if you consider the amount of open space. If you include those two pieces, you're well over 30% of the allowed. For the required open space.
I guess the only thing is that is not really. Part of this request. In other words, if that's in violation, that might be a different thing.
But it goes into play. You put a structure on something that. And all of a sudden, now your calculation's wrong for all your open space.
Yeah, but if she is approved for the shed goes on top of that slab, then that portion, that 124 square feet. Goes against coverage. And I guess. Yes, in space, but then that may not be added on, it's more than 1/3 in that case.
How many houses and how many numbers? I don't know. How it's really-
I'm a salesman, I have to keep on saying.
I do have a question. You said the board pad was to fit the 12 by, no, 14 by.
It had edges, so the back, it was right to the back, but it had edge on the side, so we could put our trash in. But like maybe leave on the very.
Yeah, no, I get that. So hypothetically, if you were to get approved for the 12 by 12 shed. Would you be willing to trim up that pad and put it back to green space? I know that it's a bit, but that's a lot of pad. That could be put back into green space. Help your cause.
If it costs me 2,000, that's the difference. Shouldn't be. That is,
What are your calculations showing? That area you just did right there is 39% of the required.
I guess we'd have to get actual physical measurements. About 39% is substantial. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is. We'd have to get actual measurements.
Yeah.
Certainly, it could be done by, like Kelly suggested, cutting part of it at least. I don't know what we're gonna be, but. If the shed was granted, though, certainly that would be less than a third.
Yes.
It's an option. We're trying to make this work. I feel you when you say, you know, this has been expensive. But I also know being on this side of the table, we always say, you know, you gotta find out this information before you make these decisions, unfortunately, that come back to bite you, but. We're trying to find some way to give you a place to store your things, obviously. My other question that I had was on the patio portion behind the house. Is there room or possibility of putting the shed on that area and removing the pad? The other, okay.
what's the stand on?
Oh, it's stand, okay. Okay.
And James, what you're proposing there is if we grant a variance, then another violation of our code goes away.
Seems that way.
That's not necessarily a reason to grant a variance.
If she removed the part of the pad that was not, in other words, the pad was for the 14 by 20 shed, right? So, does this, would the shed even require that?
Are you asking if she were to remove the extra parts of the pad that aren't needed because the shed is outside?
Right.
I imagine that'd probably be pretty close to getting too less than, I mean. It's really irrelevant though, because if the shed is erected, that's gonna become less than a third, I'm sure. But that would make it significantly less.
All right, here's what I'd like to propose, if somebody would do a motion. I'd like to postpone this. And I'd like to get more information on everything that's on that property. I'd also like to find out what you're willing to give up. But if you want us to vote on
I
it,
figured out the box, so.
if you want us to vote on it right now, we can do that. But
No, I hear you, you did the same thing last time. So, you know, most likely you're voting no, but you're asking, you're doing it like you're supposed to.
Well, I'm just saying that I think that,
I'm tired, you know, I got no fight in me, I don't have the money to put this off, so. It doesn't.
that do you want us to pursue it, or did you want to take a look and decide on some options that maybe would be more palatable to the board? Or at least to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one, I'm not the only one voting. If there were 5 of us, I've been outvoted repeatedly. Trust me. Right?
Very right. My recommendation would be to
I'm
take
tired,
a
I'm
run.
tired of hearing the people comment and comment online. Like,
Yeah.
that's nothing better to do.
I get it.
I got enough.
But that's
I could probably feedback.
the public is your neighbors.
Yeah.
You're asking for a variance against our city code, and that applies to everyone in the city. Your neighbors and anyone else in the city.
I just thought that I was probably something. If you vote on it, it's fine, I'm not gonna be back on it. I mean, if I had, that's gonna be different. I mean, if you want to move out, my husband wants to stay.
So do you want us to vote on it?
Not if you're gonna vote on.
I'm gonna make a proposal that we postpone on our behalf. The. Request for the Class B area variance for appeal 2357. Period.
It's on our, we've had, let's do it based on only 3 voting members.
Based on 3 voting members. Can I postpone them to 2 months?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna postpone them to 2 months. Ditto what I said before.
Okay. Second. This we can do voice vote, all in favor? Aye.
Where are we now?
I would like to see.
I'd like to, but my husband wants to stay.
Okay,
Can you?
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Kevin and Mary Flynn. Now I know your real name.
Yeah. Try to keep this secret.
All right. Thank you for hanging around.
Hey, been interesting.
Okay. So you want to widen your driveway?
Yeah, we'd like to put 2 cars in. Can't put them the long way because it's too short. Or else we'd be hanging over the sidewalk. But we put 2 cars in. Then we're over the sidewalk.
Thanks for staying for the house.
My God really wanted that.
And your old house is a very nice house.
Thank you.
Been to a party or 2 there. Okay, there were a couple of questions.
Okay,
Exactly. Where are you widening and how does it fit in relative to the house? And do you know where your lot line is?
yes. I do know where the lot line is. You want me to show you on?
Sure.
And we have discussed it with the neighbors and they like to make it. Basically, we're going 3 feet this way and 3 feet this way,
Okay,
all the way from the where, we're walking. And my property line is where is the garage. You see that in the corner?
okay. So their garage is on the property line.
Yes. Which is, it's been that way for a million years.
Okay,
I'm sure it couldn't happen today.
no,
But we're fine with it.
okay. So basically, are you going beyond the corner of the house?
No,
So the house is kind of your edge,
yeah,
okay,
it might be a couple inches higher, but This, you can't see because of the bricks, but this sidewalk. See this pad here,
Yeah,
that goes straight across
okay,
behind the bricks. I mean, those are just there because. They were taken out. We're kind of working on taking the pavers out.
And you wouldn't be planning on widening beyond the sidewalk?
No,
okay, so your curb cut will remain the same,
yeah,
all right. The community development office had a essay about this. But I think a lot of their concerns are mitigated first off by not changing that curb cut.
yeah, we figured. We didn't want to. Get involved in trying to do that. We had no intention of doing that.
Okay. So driveway gonna be pavers like it is, or you,
No, it's gonna be, alright,
okay,
those are coming out, hopefully. They're tough to take care of in the winter. Hard to shovel,
yes,
and those are hard to maintain, as you can see.
See the grass in.
Yeah, and they weren't put in very well, so it's kind of.
Yeah.
Wavy.
okay. Any questions? Anyone on this? Anyone in the public have any comments? Not, I'll close the public hearing portion. I'll entertain a motion. On the short environmental assessment form number 2 building permit. It's anything that I saw.
I'll make a motion for appeal 2358. After review of the short environmental assessment form. That the chair. Check no or small impact may occur on page 3, 1 through 11, and then sign. Page 1. And check the box that we've determined that there is. It's no impact.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Yep,
I make a motion for appeal 2358 from Kevin and Mary Flynn for Class B area variance to approve the request to widen the driveway greater than 12 feet on a lot size under 100 feet in width to expand 3.5 feet on both sides of the current driveway.
second.
Second.
Yeah. Right. You're good to go, please.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Appreciate participating in the process.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Kyle Casper. Round 2.
Yeah.
So you want to change the size of the garage you want to build back there?
Yeah, I'm just figuring that if I'm gonna build something, and I go build something that's gonna accommodate everything we need.
I guess the question is, what do you need?
Well, parking is kind of tight. And if I had a garage, could I park in the back as well? Then I would open up a little more parking. I mean, it works, but it's just not much space in between the cars. I have a I live in the downstairs apartment, which is kind of small. I don't have a lot of storage area for lawnmowers, all my yard stuff, pressure washer. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is right now like being locked up outside in the weather because I put a tarp on it because I don't have room for it. So. I mean, I'm not even 100% sure. I'm retiring in 3 years, so this is like all hypothetical for me. Yeah, may or may not, you know, I haven't really looked into the financial aspect of everything, so that's gonna make a big difference. My friend, the contractor, who was considering building it. So I better discuss the financial aspects with him.
So we granted you a 20 by 25. Already,
Yeah, and actually the 20 by 25, I did incorrectly. Because if I wanted it, I actually wanted it 25 this way, not 25 that way. So I did that incorrectly on the form. Because it doesn't make sense, my truck wouldn't fit into a 20 foot wide garage, so really, I would want it, that's why I'm saying 24 by 24, but technically, if I wasn't granted that, I would want more of the distance as opposed to the width.
now, is there a slab back there already?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
seem to remember that there was an existing slab.
yeah, but I think it was encroaching by 2 feet on the left side of the property, so I could only utilize. Well, minus 50, but I think you allow me to build it on the other side, by whatever distance I need.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that the lot was a very narrow lot. It's only 40 feet wide. Does that make sense?
As far as green space, you know,
No, just in sheer width of the lot.
I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of, I mean, it's not a ton of room there.
Yeah.
But now, you own that property next to it where the apartment is?
No,
No, I mean,
you only own that one
yeah,
location right there, correct?
I'd like to own the one on the left side of it, because then I'd have a lot of money that I can't put it in. No, I just own it.
But your driveway is on a right of way, but it's not on your property? Or do you access it through behind?
Yeah, I gotta go, there's a very, actually, it's kind of narrow, there's a pathway between our properties, and in the back, I think you can actually see a car parked right there, that's parking area.
So you access that, your property through the back of the apartment building?
No, it's where the. river-
No, it's, I share an entrance way with the other,
Oh, so it's a right of way, not on your property. I'm still confused.
Here's. Like, from here.
Yeah, that's not on his property.
He's got a right.
Right.
of way. The barn.
Yeah.
So when looking at that picture. What we granted you was 25 by 20. If you look at that car that's in the back. You're saying, so we granted you basically going the length of the car with the 25.
Yes.
And you're saying you want it to be wider. And have that be,
I would, I mean, I don't have a plan or nothing, but.
You want to retain that part.
I want it to come. Closer to the parking lot this way and further by. 4 feet as opposed to wider. So you just flip around with the original dimensions that I had requested.
And the doors will face the back of your house. Back of the building, okay.
So where you're looking to put the garage is essentially covered over by that tree right now.
Yeah, you can see the slab to the left. The cement slab.
It's kind of under the tree.
Well, it's to the left of the tree.
And in this picture, it's above the tree.
Okay. I got it.
If you're seeing at the
Yeah.
house, looking at it, it's to the left of the tree.
And is the garage? Is the garage larger than the existing slab?
Oh, it would be, yeah.
So this is the coverage.
You're here, maybe we'll do good one. Okay, so let me just show you what we got here. So this is, the request for less than is to build. And basically, essentially what you would ask for, except that you're on 20 by 25 instead of 24 by 25. And it was approved to go 25 by 20, or what you're looking for now is 24 by 20. And I'm still curious, what would the change give you?
Just more storage space for all my junk. That I have, I mean, I have other stuff too, as well as. You know, I sell mobiles, so I mean, I know that's not probably considered. A necessity, but. It'd be nice to have a place to put those instead of keeping them out in the elements.
You were already over before,
He's got some,
oh. Well,
there's approved
oh, yeah.
and then proposed. And the required open space he's fine now. For 3 feet now.
So he's going up.
Yeah. But it's still. Let me open this up to the public. Anyone in the public have comments?
I do.
Okay,
I'm Judy Seymour.
okay,
I live at 32 Stanley Avenue. My backyard and fence abuts to the property.
okay.
And I'm wondering exactly how many, by looking at the drawing, I can't come up with a figure. I'd like to know how many feet he's going to be from my fence with his plan. I mean, because the way I'm reading it is he's only got 28 and a half feet, he's gonna put in 24 feet. A 24-foot garage, so that's gonna leave like 2 inches, or 2 feet rather.
Now, when
He
you
says
say,
he's got 22 feet to my fence, but from where? From the end of the garage?
well, actually, the distance to your fence isn't an issue. It's more to the property. It could be 5 feet from the property line.
Okay, and how far will he be from the property line?
Well, it doesn't appear that your fence is all the way to your property line either, so. It would, in any case, be more than 5 feet. Let me see if I can walk over it there.
Also, just so you're aware, the proposal would have him, so currently he has permission to have a 25-foot garage. And that was approved. The proposal brings it back 1 foot.
An extra foot, I guess.
Less 1 foot.
So farther
So he's
away from your.
farther away. is what
That way,
he
yes.
said.
Well, my problem is how close it was to the fence because of the fact that I wanted to check in the picture of the roof he planned on putting in. Because if it was close to my property, we have a problem because our property pitches toward the house with the additional snow and rain coming off the roof. My brother is in a wheelchair and it's blind. And with the extra water coming in the snow removal off the roof in the wintertime and then melting, it comes into our property over the ramp that we have.
Now, he is allowed to put it within 5 feet of his property line.
Okay, then
That is
would
allowed by.
would you consider putting gutters on the one side? To make sure that none of the water
Actually,
goes,
the real question is which side is going to be your even and which. is gonna be-
I can't hear you.
It's a question for him, which side would be your even and which side would be your gable?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming the roof is gonna be a standard.
Standard pitch.
price.
Right, but you
Yeah.
can turn it one way or the other, especially if you do a 24 by 0.4. You can turn it one way and the water runs, actually you can run it away from your parking lot. So it would be towards your house.
And I don't have an issue with it.
I can tell you, you don't want an eave over your parking area if you can get away from it, because otherwise the snow's gonna fall right there. Whereas you want it to the side where you don't have parking. You know, that's just logical.
On the garage that is next to the property, the 6.5 feet. The pitch in that one is to the rear of the property.
Yeah.
And he's got 10 feet there.
So what are you suggesting, do a flat roof with
No.
an angle?
As long as you are the required distance from the boundary of the property. You're able to construct that, am I wrong? As long as it's from the property, you're able to construct it how your plans are, as long as you're following the code. And I would recommend that you put eaves and that, you know, water gutter system. But you're not required to, as long as you're from the distance of the property.
Well, like I said, my friend is a pretty good contractor and. I'm sure he's probably thought of all that stuff,
Are you talking about Albert?
yeah.
He would definitely put it on there.
Is there a separate approval process for the building permits? So that would be.
Well, they just review it against the building code, and the code doesn't require. Certain gutters or anything like that. But you're looking at putting in. That other garage is right on the property line, to your knowledge.
It's pretty close, yeah, and that's why we said I had to go 50 dollars to the right.
And
It
you're
looks like all the garages in there. Maybe look right at it. I mean, part of my question is, so if you approve me. And financially, I just decide to go smaller. You don't have an issue with that, right?
No.
I have to come back.
No. No, whatever we approve is your maximum. So if you're 6.5 feet from the other garage, assuming the garage is on the line,
I mean,
You're
part
gonna be-
of my decision,
10 feet
sorry,
per line.
9.5.
9.5,
County has a lot at 40.
yeah. Actually, the back of the lot's 40.5 feet.
Oh, it's odd dimension. I just, well, I always go off the county because it's more accurate, but if it's an odd dimension, then. That makes sense.
Well, according to the tax map that's in here is 40.5 in the back, 40 in the front. So based on that, that would be the 10 feet from your property line at her side.
And it does not appear that her fence is all the way to the property line. looks like it's 3 or 4 feet off.
So what it looks like is what he's proposing here. The edge of the building would be about 10 feet from your property line. Okay,
That's not a problem.
okay. You know, the eave may come over another foot. Is that what you allow a foot for an eave? 18,
I thought it was maybe 14 inches.
14 inches, okay. Okay. So any eave that he has is gonna be 9 feet from your property line and probably more from your fence. Because your fence seems to be farther not on the property line. Okay. All right.
Actually, I don't know why I thought that it's 3 feet.
It is 3 feet. I thought that they had a larger. But in this day and age, people don't even do a 3-foot heat. Not on big.
Yeah,
Just costs more money, right?
yeah.
It costs a lot more because it's suspended out in
Yeah.
space. Yeah,
Um,
you know, especially if you have a 45-degree roof, that's gonna be, to go out 3 feet, you're gonna be halfway to the ground. So. All right, any other comments, ma'am?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing portion.
So if I wanted to remove that slab and put a different slab, that's not an issue. Or to build out of it. I mean, I don't know if it can be built out to this problem.
I don't think that that really affects our decision. Because you're gonna enclose the slab completely, correct? And then some? Yeah.
I think the slab was all, like,
Broken up.
yeah. It's not,
No, it's intact,
I
it's
think-
cracked down the middle.
One at the end of the driveway. On Lynn Street. That was all broken up and they were gonna tear it out and then they were enlarging and moving it back.
yeah, I remember that one too. I thought yours was also. broken.
Yeah. Tell me about secret garages.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Sorry. Our competition,
I know, I see them every day, I see them in my dreams, in my nightmares. So. All right, shall we do the seeker? On this,
I'm struggling, Kyle. I'm struggling because, the original, from the variance that we gave you. Put you over. And now this is putting you further over, The discrepancy is very similar to what we were just struggling with in the other one, and we really like gave her a hard time, and I feel like we gotta. Put this one to the test as much as we do with the others. Would you be willing to, go down in size if we gave you 2 feet extra on that 20-foot? Would you be willing to do like a 22 by 22 or 22? So we gave you 20 by 25,
500 square feet.
even if we did like 22 by 24, 22. Are you willing to work with the
Right,
size?
or,
Well,
'cause I'd like to be able to fit my truck in, so
so what do you
I believe that-
ultimately need for
it'd
that?
have to be 24.
Okay, so 24 is your minimum
For the
to
depth.
fit your truck.
And then width, I guess, isn't quite as important.
Well,
The other option, is, I've been struggling, trying to find out what. I'm hoping that. Whatever I do back there, because I'm retiring in 3 years. And I may be staying part-time in the area, I may still be living there, and renting out the apartments, but. Whatever I add, I want. To up the value of my house. And I'm not quite sure owning a rental property as opposed to a house, like I know they say 15 to 20%. It can up anywhere from 10 to 20% on a regular home, but I'm not quite sure how much it's gonna improve the value of my rental property as well. So that is another issue. Another thing a friend of mine had run by me was to have an Amish shed built. And there's all different sizes, but the size I was considering would be 16 by 30. So 16 feet wide by 30 feet long. Without having to have a slab. They come in and they just fill it, they put a filler in and then they build on top of that. That would be considerably cheaper for me, so that is another option as well.
So
But
the previous approval was for 500 square feet.
Yeah.
And 16 by 30. Structure is 480. Square feet, so that would come under what their previous approval was.
Well, yes, so, yes, it depends on how we wrote it, but. It would be an easy sell. To change that. Because you're going down in the variance, okay? And along those same lines, I kind of agree with Kelly. I'm having a hard time with the increased area. And I'm wondering if you want to just take that 20 by 25 and turn it 90 degrees.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
22 by 24, you were saying?
20, instead of going 25 by 20, you would go 20 by 25. Switch it the way you wanted. You said that you made an error before with the way you had.
Yeah, I just wanted it like closer to the house, closer to
Right,
the driveway. So
so that would be an option, would be
22.
switching your,
22 by 24. So taking 2 feet
Well,
out.
22 by 24 is an increase.
That's
So we're saying is taking the 20 by 25 and just turning it 90 degrees. Which wouldn't. We may have to do something with our previous variances if we stated. If we stated at the minutes. Right there.
I mean, if we made an amendment to the previous variance, if we made an amendment to the previous variance to make it a square footage instead of particular size, would that?
no. We need to know how it's positioning on the property.
Well, as long as it would stay within the property,
Actually, the way the motion is written. You can change it. You can turn that 90 degrees. So you're 20 feet wide and
So
25 feet deep.
So long as he has 5 feet everywhere.
What's that?
Right.
So long as he has 5 feet everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you basically said not encroaching on any of your setbacks. And we gave you a variance for more coverage. For the amount of coverage that you want. So,
20 by 25.
yeah, and you turn it 90 degrees, you have room for your truck. May not be as wide as you'd like, but if you're talking one vehicle and the rest storage. You're pretty well golden. It's a little tight for 2 full-size vehicles. But if you're looking at just putting one vehicle in there and the rest material, which is basically what you're claiming to us. You're good.
Okay, I guess when you say, will my truck still be driving straight in?
Yes,
Or back?
as much as it ever was, yes. As much as it would be on 24 by 24.
Right.
If your garage door is gonna face the house, you're turning in. And rather than 24, and you still could do only 24 feet long. If you found that it got too close to the house. You can always build it a little smaller.
24 by 20, you're saying.
Yes. Yeah,
Which is like a garage and a half, I guess, right?
it's a small garage, you know, if somebody who owned it drove two small vehicles, they would fit in there fine.
Yeah.
A standard two-car garage door is 16 feet wide.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's-
so, yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. And if I decide not even to do that and just do the outer shed, 16 by 30, that's not an issue, you said?
you know, I don't think it is the way it's written. Because we gave you square footage variance,
Okay,
yes. No, we gave it a percentage.
20 by 24.
Now, we do say the size, so if you went longer, you need to come back before us. But if you're in a lower square footage, it's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah.
Because, you know, basically what I'm saying, the minute you start going over, it gets tougher and tougher.
That might actually be below the, required,
Now, he's over by too much.
no, the 16 by 30 would be. Right, probably right on the. Right on the required.
Required is 30, he's 33
When it's
with
currently
the pro,
approved.
approved.
With the
What
approval,
is the,
but the 16 by 30 is 20 square feet less.
Yeah, but that's still,
it might be in your best interest to use the 20 by 25 approval that you have and just flip it. Because we approved for that size and then you can, as long as you're not too close to your boundaries. And then if you decide to change your plan, once you know for sure what you want to do, then come for that approval. Whether it's 24 by 24 or the 16 by 30. That way you're not getting 3 variances for different things and coming back.
okay, so
well,
just hypothetically, what if I was 16 by 24? Still the same thing? Now it's, you're,
16 by 24,
It's less than
you'll
what you're.
you'll have to come
So,
to us.
I don't.
No. Because you're,
Because
You're
I'm
approved.
looking at all these options, but I just want,
you're approved like up to 20 feet wide and up to 25 feet long.
okay,
With no restriction as orientation. Okay, so you can turn it just as long as you don't violate any of your setbacks. Okay, the 5 feet all around from your property line. And if you go less than that, we're fine.
okay.
We'd be happy. No, but I think 24 by 24, in my mind, is a tough sell. Just because the amount we gave you, I thought was. I personally thought was a fair amount. And
Well,
It-
there's
it
a tree,
pushed my-
the tree,
yeah,
the tree is kind of close.
Yeah.
I would be cutting it close. And. Tree removal is really expensive, so.
yes, they are. Yeah. So,
you want to settle with that? I'll make a motion to.
Yeah.
That will. Dismiss the appeal for now and then.
actually, we can postpone it for 2 months.
Okay.
And
if
then
you don't show up.
if, after you really. Look at it, if you want to pursue something different, such as, on a shed that's 30 feet long. Modify this, and this still stands. And if you don't come back, it goes away. And your previous, variance still stands. Okay,
So I'll make a motion for appeal 2359. For. Casper for the class. Class B area variance request, to postpone on our, I don't know.
we'll do it on our behalf.
Okay,
And we have
on our
3
behalf.
members.
Okay.
We'll use-
Due
we'll
to
take
having
that.
3 members, for up to 2 weeks.
And basically, what you just, second that.
I guess, well, I guess the only
All in
issue,
favor, aye. Okay. I just want to get the formalities out of the way.
If I choose to do. What's within. That I can start building.
You can get a building permit, just like, and they will verify that it meets the intent of the variance that you have scanned.
Cause just. Cause you're postponing doesn't mean if I stick with.
No.
What you approved, I can't
No.
start building.
What
You're good to
it,
go
what
with
is, what it really allows, and here's why I had her do it in our behalf, is if a month and a half down the road, you say, I'm looking at something else. You can come back and request that it be postponed on your behalf for 2 months. Additional, if you're still working on it, and that way it still stays in use. Okay, otherwise, if we did on your behalf after 2 months, it'd go away, and then you'd have to reapply and do everything all over again. This gives you the option of at least 2 months right off the bat on our dime, and then you have, then you start to work the issue. And take a look at really what you have, that what you can do and what you want to do. And if it doesn't meet the existing variance, if the building inspector says, no, you have to come back, then we just modify this one. As we take this from there. Okay,
When you're working with your contractor, show them the variance that you have. And then I'm sure they'll work within those boundaries.
and the building inspector is very helpful about that also. They can sit down with you and or the contractor and say, here's what is approved, here's what you can, and here's what you can't do with that approval. Okay,
Or you tell them to call me.
Huh?
We have dinner every Friday night. I'll-
You really?
Not every, a lot.
That's, yeah.
oh, you're supposed to identify that long before this.
No, I'd rather not do.
All right, so you're good,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you participating.
Well, thank you, appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, minutes. What's that? Okay. We can't do that.
For all of them?
We don't have one stop.
Oh, I don't know this.
That was for
Oh, this was for,
stuff that I can find when I need it.
all right. Oh, that's handy.
All right,
I felt bad for that one, not one. Are we up?
no,
Oh, make a motion to adjourn the August 21st, 23 meeting.
in favor? Aye.